Hey gang, Jim Farmer here. It's Friday, it's April the 1st, and I just pulled my boat out of the water. I'm going to do some maintenance on the motor and some maintenance on the boat over the next few days. So I thought while I got it out here, I'd lay some of my baits out that I'm going to be using over the next couple of months, and I thought I'd go over a few of them with you guys and show you just what I'm going to be doing over the next few months. And there's a variety of baits here. It looks like quite a few of them, really. I thought that I wouldn't use that many, but once I got it to looking and got to thinking about what I've had success with in the past, started adding a few more to the list here. But most of these fish are going to be post-spawn before too long. A lot of them are starting to spawn now. They're getting into their spawning mode and getting back in those pockets. Yesterday I was out there and I caught fish all the way back to just a few feet of water in some of these pockets with the docks, and I can tell the fish are just about ready to get going with the spawn. So with that being said, before too long we're going to have a post spawn. These fish, once they get done spawning, what they do is they usually relax a little bit and rest because they're kind of stressed out from the spawn and they're kind of weak, so they need a little chance to kick back and rest. So after they get done resting, these fish are hungry, and when they're hungry post spawn, they start eating pretty hearty. So right after the bass get done spawning, we start moving into kind of a shad spawn and then a blueback spawn. So with that in mind, I'm just going to show you a few baits when I put my boat back in the water, what I'm going to be having tied on and what I'm using here. So first off, I'm going to go over the moving baits. There's quite a few of them here, but I'll go over them real quick and I'll show you what I'm using now and what I'm going to be using over the next, say the next month to 2 months till we get into probably late May, June, something like that, when these fish start warming up and moving out. They'll start moving back out to the brush piles and getting off the shoreline. So first off, what I've been doing is we've got all this wind out here, and when there's wind out, well, I like using the moving stuff. Even though we're really not in the height of the moving stuff right now, I'll just show you a couple things that I'm using. Number one is yesterday when I was out, I threw the Jackhammer chatterbait around a little bit, and I caught some pretty nice fish on that, and I'll show you which one that I'm using. This is I believe this is a half-ounce jackhammer. It's either 3/8 or half-ounce. I think this is a half-ounce jackhammer. And I got one here. It's made by Z-Man, and that's a half-ounce. If you can see it there, that's one that I use right there, and that's a Z-Man jackhammer. And there's a couple things I like to do with the jackhammer. Number one is, if you look at the jackhammers in the store these days, you're going to see that they come with either a clear blade or they come with a chrome blade. And I've used both, and I kind of like the chrome blade better, and the reason why I like this chrome blade better is because it has a lot of flash, and I think the flash on that chrome bait is what triggers these fish to bite on it, because if you look at this thing running through the water, this little blade is flashing like crazy as it comes through the water. So the clear one, I've used that. It doesn't have the flash, obviously, that this one has, and so this is the reason I like the old chrome style instead of the clear style, and it's just a matter of personal preference. But on the back end of it, I've used several different swim baits or trailers or whatever you want to call them for the back, but the best one that I've found for these is this little Zoom Super, it's a little Fluke Junior, and it's the swimming kind, and if you see, it's not got that V-tail, it's got that paddle tail. And I'll tell you guys something about this little paddle tail on this, and I've tried the Kitech little swimmers on it, but you see that long tail on there with the chatterbait, you see how that thing is just jiggling around. We'll see when the chatterbait comes through the water, it's shaking pretty good, and because of that long tail right there, it gives that back of that bait a lot of action. And for some reason, I think the fish just get nuts about that little tail. So that's why I'm using that. It's got more action than, say, a 3.3 Kitech or 2.8 Kitech or something like that. So that little swimming fluke there with the paddle tail, that's the one that I'm using with these Jackhammer chatterbaits. And that's about all I use anymore is this half-ounce chrome Jackhammer chatterbait with the little swimming fluke on the back. And I'm using that right now, and I caught some good fish on it yesterday afternoon when I went out in the wind. The thing about the Jackhammer is it's a good bait to use in the wind, and it's also a good bait to use on the docks too. I can run this down the front of the docks, the side of the docks. Shade patches are a good place to throw this thing, especially for the next month or two around them docks, because these fish are sitting on them shade patches on them docks, and they're just waiting for something to run through the shade. And a Jackhammer or an Alabama rig is two things that'll get them on them shade patches on the docks. So, you know, when you're running these docks, the sun's kind of in the west, the southwest or something like that. Well, the east side of those docks are going to have a big shade patch on them, and this is what you want to use on those shade patches. Just run it down the side of the dock, maybe count it down to about 3 or 4. So that's the chatterbait. The next moving bait that I'm using, and I think I put a YouTube video out earlier this week, and I was chasing some birds around. This is a 3.3 Kitech with a little Damiki head. This is Spinnerbait's Damiki head, and I've been throwing this for last 3-4 months. I was dragging it on the bottom earlier in January and February and getting a lot of good fish that way, but now I'm moving it. So what I'm doing is this little Damiki head, I'm casting it. I'm casting it out, you know, just as far as I can. I count it down to give it a 5 or 10 count and just a slow roll back to the boat. I'm using that on points, a lot of points, a lot of rocks, and some docks, but mainly this is something that I'll throw on rocky points and the places where the fish are going to be chasing the shad early in the morning and in the evening. So 3.3 Kitech, Spinnerbait's Damiki head, can't beat that combo right there. I've been using it. I used it last year. You guys seen videos, a lot of videos of this this combo that I'm using right now. So that's a 1/4 ounce Damiki head and a 3.3 Kitech. Also, I'll use like the 2.8 Kitech. That's a 2.8 Kitech. I'll use that a good bit too. Now, as we kind of get into the next few weeks, when the fish are post-spawn and they start eating again, I'm going to start using underspins. There's two that I like to use. The first one is a 3/8 spot choker. Right here, this is spot choker. That's a 3/8 right there. I like using that. This is what it looks like. I use it on a little 2.8 Kitech, and I'm going to be beating the banks with that before too long, especially these rocky shorelines and areas that have a lot of rock. The fish just, they seem to gravitate towards this thing when it gets into April, say mid to late April. So that's one that I use, that spot choker right there. That's 3/8 ounce. Another one I like to use is the fish head spin. This is a 3/16. I like using a 3/16. It's a little bit lighter. A lot of times, and it's getting worse, you know, we get a lot of that green slime, you know, so I like these lighter ones like this because I like to keep them up off the bottom, so I'm keeping this up high. So a 3/16 to me works a lot better than a 1/4 ounce or something like that. So it's a little bit lighter, and I'll be throwing that. And what I'm throwing, this little paddle tail that I'm using, that's one of KBD Baits paddle tails. He makes some little 3-inch paddle tails. These little suckers are deadly with this underspinner on the Damiki. So I'm not sure what that color is right there, but whatever color it is, it's a good one. I'm just down to, I had 2 bags of these, and I got 2 left out of probably 12 or 14 of them. I don't know how many come in a bag, but anyway, that color right there is just an excellent color, and that's the one I'm using with my underspin right now with the fish head spin, and I'll be using that over the next few weeks, probably more so than I'm using it right now. It just seems like these fish are kind of more interested in the Damiki swim bait than the underspin, but they'll get going on this underspin pretty quick, trust me. Works every year, and I use it every year, and I catch a lot of fish. If you go to my YouTube channel, just type in, do a search for Jim Farmer Fishing, and you'll see on my YouTube channel. Go back to the April, May videos, and you're going to see that a lot of those videos are with these fish head spins through the month of April. So another one that I'm going to be using is, I like to use a spinnerbait. This spot sticker spinnerbaits. I don't really use the silver blades that much anymore. I like the white blades. So I like this pattern right here. There's a lot of different colors that work, but it seems like this pattern right here catches me a lot of largemouth as well as the spotted bass. And for some reason, the largemouth just kind of like this pattern on Lanier. This pattern right here, I think more so than any other pattern. And I'm using a trailer hook on this. And this is, I'll show you the trailer hook that I'm using. This is a 2-aught Gamakatsu trailer hook. And if you look at that bag of trailer hooks, you'll notice it's got a little plastic tube in there. And I'll show you what that plastic tube is for. If you look at this trailer hook, I just cut off a little piece of that plastic tube and I slid it down on the main hook. And that's what's going to hold that trailer hook on there. So that's the spot sticker. I think this is a 1/2 ounce, or it may be a little more than that. But this is a spinnerbait that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use that a lot. I'm going to use it in the wind. I'm going to use it on points in the wind. Let's say if the wind kicks up, got a lot of chop on the water, use that spot sticker bait. I think that you're gonna get a lot of good fish on this the spot sticker bait. Couple white willows on there. It just seems like the fish like them, and with that pattern, the largemouth like them too. So I'll be beating the bank with that a little bit in the wind. So spot sticker swimmer bait's another good one. I started using the Seabill. Started early this week, or maybe even last week, I can't remember. But this has kind of been an early morning thing for me. Usually after the sun gets up, they kind of quit on this for now. They'll get better at it when we get later into the summer. I'll be using this a lot more, but they're starting to bite this early in the morning over brush and on points. I can usually pick up 1 or 2 on that, and I think I might have a video. I think I made a video this week. I'll see if I got it. If I do, I'll show you how I'm using this thing. But basically just casting it over the top of a point, slow rolling it back of the boat. This is slow sinking. This is custom painted. This is a pearl white custom painted 125 Seabill that what I did was I just took a Seabill, sanded it down, and repainted it. So that's the Seabill. That's another one I'm using. So that's a few of them here. Another one that I just started using, and it's going to be good for the next few months. And if you guys follow Jimmy Sanders, he's big on the fluke, but I also used it a good bit too. And these are the pearl white super flukes, probably the best one to use for fluke fishing, weightless fluke fishing. And there's several different ways to use it, but right now I'm nose hooking it with these octopus, Gamakatsu octopus hooks. That's just a size 1. It's kind of small, but I like these, and so I just nose hooked it just like that. That's the way I nose hook it, and just casting that out around docks or points, letting it sink down, maybe give it a couple jerks, let it sink down a little more. That's the way I like to work it. But that's a super fluke, nose hooked, weightless fluke, and that's the way I'm going to rig it for probably the next month. And like I say, I'm going to be casting this around docks and rocks and points and areas like that, and that's going to be working good for the next month too. So there's some moving baits for you. It looks like I've covered just about all the moving baits. Once we kind of get into the shad spawn, it's probably going to be 3 weeks before we get into that, maybe even a month, I don't know. But 1.5 shad crank, this is one that I paint, and this has always been a favorite of mine when we get into the shad spawn. So another good bait to use for the shad spawn, and we'll probably talk about this more later, but you can see the 1.5 shad crank in some of my YouTube videos in probably late April through May during the shad spawn. I think the water has to warm up probably about another 10 degrees. Also on that weightless fluke, I forgot to tell you guys, I use like a these are kind of like super strong swivels, and they're small, but I use about I don't know, maybe a 2 to 3 foot leader of heavier fluorocarbon, maybe 15, 17 pound test leader, and I put one of these on. What that's going to do for you when you're throwing this weightless fluke is that heavier line and that swivel is going to make it sink a little bit, and you want it to sink a little bit. That way it kind of gets down a little bit quicker. It's just not floating on top, and sometimes these fish won't react to that fluke until it gets down 3 or 4 feet. So that heavier fluorocarbon leader and that little barrel swivel, or power swivel they call it, it's going to get it down a little bit, and it seems like the fish kind of like that. So that's another one. A little swim bait I wanted to talk about too was LJ at Lanier Baits. They have a little 3.5 inch swimmer, and as we kind of get into the blueback spawn, this thing's really going to kick in. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like, the color looks like a blueback, but these fish really react good to LJ's Lanier Baits 3.5 swimmer. And before too long, LJ's going to run out of them because it's going to start working, and he's going to just sell just tons of them, and hopefully I can still get a few. But every year this is a good bait, and we're coming up on that right now. So as soon as the bluebacks get ready to spawn, another good bait right here. And I like talking about that tail on that swimming super fluke. This has the same tail, and these tails like this, they have a lot of action to them because it's got kind of that long thin tail, so that gives that whole back end of that bait some crazy action. And these fish, they get driven crazy on that tail on that swim bait. So one other thing, if you guys like to use a jerk bait in the spring, just beating the banks with this. You really don't have to jerk bait. I know they call it a jerk bait, but you really don't have to jerk it. This is something that you can cast out there and just kind of slowly just crank it back to the boat. You don't have to jerk it. You don't have to get all wild. These fish are pretty forgiving, so this is a jerk bait that I paint. This is one I call the Z-Shad or Zebra Shad jerk bait. I've been using that for years, and it's always been a good bait for me in April and May if I want to use a jerk bait and beat the banks with that. Like I say, just throw it up to the bank and just a steady crank back. Fish will jump on it. You know, you don't have to give it crazy action and jerk it, but just steady crank back to the boat. And that's it for the jerk bait. So that's it for the moving baits. And next video, I'm going to get into the kind of the more finesse stuff. I'm going to talk about the shaky head a little bit, and also going to talk about the drop shot. But I've been having a good bit of luck with the shaky head, and it's something that you can use. So next video is going to be the finesse stuff, so we'll talk about that. But that pretty much quickly covers all the moving baits that I have for now. So I'm going to take a couple of pictures of these, and you'll have that. And next we're going to talk about finesse, and then we're going to talk about topwater. So that's all for the moving stuff.